morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 10 of African Do Podcast. We are very excited that we have made it this far and are now recording our 10th episode. Today, we have a very interesting guest in a very interesting space, emerging space, and it's Brian Afande of BlackRhino VR. Don't worry, I'm with you. We're going to learn today what this whole space of AR, VR, and the other acronyms that follow are about. Maybe, Brian, you can introduce yourself to the party.
Yeah, thanks. First, thank you and congratulations on 10 episodes.
Thank you very much.
It's building momentum, and I feel like, these conversations are needed.
They are.
Yeah, for the sake of context, my name is Brian Afande.
Yes.
A lot of people call me Mr. French from back in the day because I used to DJ.
Okay.
I used to DJ on Capital FM and a crew called Codred.
Yes, I
So
remember
I started
Codred.
Codred with Styles and the rest of the guys.
Yes.
And then we transitioned into Blackstar Entertainment.
Okay.
So my background is in marketing, retail, and also I graduated from the prestigious School of YouTube Premium.
Okay.
I taught myself and my team on what extended reality technologies are and how they can be applied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into the extended reality space, which I think will be the backbone, maybe let me just take a step back. When I was doing my reading on you, I saw that you're a graduate of University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
I think you're the only, is it epistemologist?
Yes.
I don't think I know. I was trying to think when I read that your first degree is in psychology and epistemology.
Yes.
So maybe just start us there. And this guy who was in University of Nairobi, who studied epistemology and now is in the VR space, maybe you can just give us a quick summary of where you started and how you find yourself where you are today.
So interestingly enough, I never finished the course.
Okay.
Halfway through my uni stint, I just realized that the educational sector, the way it's been designed, hasn't been designed in such a way that we can be able to produce critical thinkers.
Okay.
I felt like there were certain, let's say, lack of a better word, certain guardrails that were created for us, especially for me as a creative person, not to thrive in that environment.
Okay.
So yes, I studied epistemology, which is a study of like thinking and knowledge. It's a study of knowledge.
Yes, it is.
But I also doubled it up with philosophy. I feel like knowledge is static. And knowledge is not static and it's dynamic.
Yeah.
And because knowledge is dynamic, the way you can be able to access knowledge has to come from different places. Looking at the old philosophers, the Socrates, the Thales of Miletus, Aristotle, all these guys had time to think. And a lot of us as individuals, I borrow a lot of stuff from philosophy because a lot of individuals don't have time to think. We are caught up in a rat race.
Yes.
And each and every day as we are caught up in the rat race, we don't critically sit down and say and reflect on your day and introspect and plan and strategize. We don't do that. So you constantly exist, but if you look at what you've achieved personally, I'm not talking about the symbols of success, what people think. I'm talking about personal growth. When you look back 5 years, you're like, guys, I haven't actually done much because I'm caught up in this rat race. Philosophy teaches me to question a lot. And I'm inquisitive. And my team knows that. So if someone comes with something, I say, why? And where are we getting these references? And how can we be able to innovate around these ideas and build them further? I thank God that my journey in life took me through Nairobi University because I've borrowed a lot from my stint there. And it's really allowed me to be one of the few individuals within the continent who looks at the application of technology within the continent and not as consumers, as producers of technology. So this is also the philosophy in my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's come into BlackRhino VR. Yeah. I must admit, on a personal level, I'm very green in terms of that whole virtual reality space. So maybe you can give us a quick layman summary of what is it that BlackRhino VR does? What do you do in the market? What's your product? What are you producing? How is it used? How have you managed to commercialize it? How does it earn you money? So the over and above, first, of course, what is it? And then, of course, how do you use it to earn a living?
Okay,
and
cool.
to innovate,
Also, when a man actually admits that, I respect that, because there's no point of having this conversation if I believe communication is not just a language, it's a frequency.
Yes.
So we have to oscillate in that frequency.
Yes.
So virtual reality is part of a spectrum of technologies, an umbrella of technologies called the extended reality technologies.
Mm-hmm.
You have virtual reality as one subsector, which could be computer generated images that you can be able to interact or not interact with. There's something called live action, which a lot of people know them as 360 films.
Yes.
Where you wear the aid of a head-mounted display unit, which is a VR headset, and then you're able to interact or go through this environment using the aid of a VR headset. So that's virtual reality. It's computer generated. And then you have augmented reality.
Yes.
Augmentation in English is just to extend.
Yes.
It's the superimposition of digital images in the real world, but in this case, using an interface to create the projection.
Okay.
So you could use a mobile phone, you could use a tablet, you could use wearables like specs to project, which takes me to the third element of the spectrum, which is mixed reality.
Yes.
A lot of people know of Apple Vision Pro that came out, which is a wearable that allows you to look at your environment, but at the same time, there's what you call spatial. Spatial, in this case, means space. There's spatialized information that is projected within the space.
Okay.
As BlackRhino, we specialize in augmented reality and virtual reality. Because looking at it from an African context, the barriers to entry of the technology are lowered. Because mixed reality headsets, if you think about some of these headsets like the Apple Vision Pro, there's all these other headsets that cost about $4,000.
Yes.
And also my biggest challenge is this hardware wasn't built for Africa.
Yes.
So the reason why we specialize in AR and VR leveraging on the mobile phone is because the mobile phone, Africans have, and most so Kenyans have shown the world how we can innovate around the mobile phone. And for us, the mobile phone is just not a tool for creativity, it's a tool for liberation.
Okay.
And we look at it like that. So we develop, our business model is very unique. 40% of the business model is what we call ecosystem building.
Okay.
I do a lot of hackathons, workshops, discussions, boot camps. We do a lot of advisory work across the board, from institutions of higher learning to also brands. But we also build content for individuals. Let's say for 360 films, for augmented reality. For instance, there's a project that we did for an organization that wanted to, you go into the supermarket, you scan a product, and there's an augmentation that happens over the product. The biggest challenge you have with marketing is you have below the line and above the line.
Yes.
More often than not, below the line and above the line never converge.
Yes.
The convergence of BTL and ATL is, so let me just slow down a bit. We say the future of communication is what you call the phygital era, where people are going to be able to access and are currently accessing both digital and physical elements in life in one unified, seamless experience.
Okay.
So this is the phygital era, which is a mixed reality era. So drawing back to the BTL is below the line. So this is a lot of experiential work. Above the line is like your billboards and your digital.
Yes.
So our technology merges digital and physical into one unified, seamless experience. And I get a lot of clients. For instance, we just won an award in December with Safaricom at the Marketing Society of Kenya events. And we won an award for the best application of a marketing campaign using emerging technology for their campaign called S-Hook.
Okay.
So university students would go in uni, they would see like billboards and all this stuff, out of home advertising, and they would scan it, and those billboards would come to life.
Okay.
So this is part of the 60%, this is part of the 40% that runs the cogs of the business.
Okay.
It's a lot of advisory work, a lot of building content for clients and experiences.
Just to flesh out a bit about that transition of how you actually apply it for a company. Using that Safaricom example, which you have given us. So when the university students, they scan, I would assume, a QR code or something.
No, the scan is visual. So the platform itself, we're using artificial intelligence, but something called computer vision.
So where do they find this thing that they scan?
So they scan, it could be a pictorial composition of something. It's like a billboard, not just a QR code, it's a billboard. So our AI engine picks up that billboard with all that content, goes back in the reference, and then now deploys any asset based on that. It could be a video, it could be anything.
So this university student sees the billboard, there's some instruction there to scan.
Yeah.
They scan, and then once they scan, they come and have an extended experience, and you guys have connected all those dots.
Spot on.
Got you. Okay.
But
yes.
there is a catch.
Yes.
How does it make sense to Safaricom?
Okay.
The biggest challenge you have in the creative industry is information is highly fragmented. There is what you call intermediaries. Intermediaries are like the intersection and the people who put all these elements together so that you can build a value chain.
Okay.
So our platform is an intermediary platform that allows also people like Safaricom to have behavioral data on who's scanning, not where they are per se, but how long have they scanned? What is the duration of interaction?
After they scanned, how long they watched it.
And this information, we send it every month to Safaricom as a document, as a report. So Safaricom can be able to measure their return of investment.
Excellent.
You see something like a billboard, you can never measure the return of investment on a billboard. You don't know how many eyeballs are on it.
Yes.
With our technology,
you can estimate.
You can estimate
with traffic and other things.
They can tell you inbound, outbound.
Yes.
But now we need to leverage data in the creative economy.
Yeah.
And this is the value of the platform that we have, which is the 70% that I'll explain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the 7. Now that I've shaken that one, let's go to the 70%.
Good.
Yeah.
So the 70% is technology. We transitioned from a studio where we used to build 360 content, doing a lot of VFX and animation, into building our own technology.
Okay.
So there was a grant that came out, which was the Ignite Culture grant. Was a grant for the Asian, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. And what happened was about 700 people applied for it. Highly competitive grant. It was sponsored by the European Union and the British Council.
Yes.
And the idea was, how do you create innovative business models around the creative industry? So we had applied before many. I always say, fortune belongs to the bold.
Yes.
But also, your mind has to be prepared.
Yes.
So we had a design document that we had prepared many years ago. And the design document was chilling. We needed about 40 million Kenya shillings to bring it to life, right? So we decided that we are going to look for this money. And I had to go through the typical pecking order of raising funds. There's something called Triple F, family, friends, and fools.
Yes.
So I had to bring in my guys and say, I want to build this tech, and this is what this tech does. The people who supported me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So when this grant came out, my COO, Abo, just walked into my office and he said, God has brought us something.
Yes.
This is the money that we are going to get to build our platform. And the money was maximum was 180,000 euros.
Okay.
And this 180,000 euros, we applied for it. We had a design document already. And we went through a series of different sort of reviews.
Yes.
And finally, we got this money.
All of it?
All of it.
Wow.
So we went out and built Africa's first augmented reality cloud editor and publishing platform.
Wow.
That allows young people to rapidly build and publish AR without the need for code. Code is a huge barrier to entry because of knowledge and information. It's not a lot of people who actually have the time and the patience to learn code.
Okay.
So what we went out to do, we built a platform that doesn't require code to build AR.
Okay.
And then this platform is a very unique platform that has a revenue share model within the platform itself, where the brands, ourselves, and the consumers get into a revenue share model based on a pay-per-view model. So for instance, you see that billboard, when you scan the billboard, the content creator who built it on our platform gets 20% of what, let's say, Safaricom pays.
Okay.
And the idea behind it is, how do you empower these content creators to get into a revenue model? They make money when they are asleep. Because we are all used to making what we call active money. It requires me to be active, but we don't look at the potential of passive income.
True.
So we wanted to change that sort of asymmetry that exists. So these guys make passive income as long as anything that they've built using the platform, other people are scanning. And this is why we transitioned to a technology business. So that's one of our platforms called Media. And then we have 2 other platforms that we are launching.
Where do we find this platform?
Go to the App Store.
Okay.
Go to the...
and it's called, what is it
called? It's called Media with an AR at the end.
Okay.
So we combined it, we combined media and augmented reality. Okay. So if you go to media.com, you can be able to access the platform. And then you can download the native app that allows you to superimpose images in the real world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this is like a master class in, okay. So, but I'm there.
You're there. You're with it.
I'm with it. I've not prepared yet.
Yeah, you haven't.
Okay, so now you have your 70% and you have your 30% of your business.
Yeah.
And you have this. Now you've won the grant, you've managed to develop the platform.
Yeah.
So how's the journey now?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And what are your key learnings, insights that because you've taken a very unique path, a lot of us on the continent, I think one of the challenges that we have is we depend on platforms that are created elsewhere. And I say that, my learning in my entrepreneurial journey is the item that is given least what do I say? The item that is given least credence is local context.
Yeah.
You have gone a different way. You have said, me, I'm starting with local context. And as a result, I'm not going to look for something else that someone has created and then plug into it. Yeah. I'm going to look for something and I'm going to create something because I'm the one who understands the context here.
Yeah.
So walk us through your insights and learnings as you walk that journey.
Perfect. I love that question because it also allows me to introspect on that journey.
Yes.
It hasn't been easy. So one thing I've learned, number one, is there's something called technology anxiety, which is a psychological challenge. A lot of people fear digital technology.
Yes.
Because in essence, the origin of digital technology is foreign.
Yes.
So a lot of people, when they see digital technology, especially with AR, VR, they think it's foreign. But they also ask very interesting questions, critical questions around who's holding that data. You understand?
Where does it stay?
Where does it stay, that data? When it comes to privacy, what are the privacy guardrails that have been created so that even me, when I'm consuming this sort of information or I'm building, my data is also secured?
Yes.
So what I came to realize is that technology anxiety is a good thing, but can also be a stumbling block to adoption.
Yes.
So because of this, we decided to have what you call demystification sessions, where we do consumer-based training around the demystifications of the value of the technology itself, just to lower the psychological barrier to entry. Because if someone fears a technology, then by all means, they cannot engage with the technology because of that fear. We reduce that barrier to entry and speak to them about the different types of technologies that exist and demonstrate how they exist. And also we talk about the architectural framework on how we've built our platforms. You see, that's number one. There's a technology anxiety. Number two, there's something called technology obsolescence.
Yes.
Yeah? This technology is digital, it's dynamic, and it's fast. When you're building this stuff, today I can build something that in the next 2 years, artificial intelligence has rendered that particular item within my technology stack null and void. It's obsolete.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, because of that, I came to realize you have to be on toes. You have to look at your technology stack.
Yeah.
And look at this technology stack. How can we create it in such a way that it is rigid, but at the same time malleable in a way that I can be able to build it further? So we had to build a modular system.
Okay.
That allows us to see that the systems that are going, and we have to project, and we say the systems that we feel that are going to be obsolete, we have to have some form of contingency plan.
Okay.
Based on that. So I've learned throughout the journey that it's important to have a modular system that you can be able to change and not affect the basics technologies development kit and the stack. Another thing that we've come to realize is you have to speak to individuals in terms of demonstrating the value of the technology, not just socially, but economically.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of people, when you see you're making dough,
yes,
then they're like, okay, what is this thing?
First, I know. There's color to be
There's
made.
color to be made. Sour.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in it.
Yes.
So we also demonstrate how young people can be able to make money through it. And because of that, now, just backtracking a bit, my sector is the creative industry. But bro, when you think about it critically, a lot of challenges you have in the creative industry are actually psychological challenges. And I'll tell you why I mean this, and then I will show you relevance. A lot of people, I studied fine art in school.
Yes.
One of the few people who decided to, in my Form 4, was like, I want to do fine art. I did humanities and I think 1 or 2 sciences. I never did all sciences. And a lot of people in the creative industry, you can see the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they visually present themselves. They are not your typical individuals.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
They are a bit divergent.
Yeah.
Now, because these people were neurodiverse, a lot of them went through stigma when they were growing up.
Yes.
You and your hao and your folks or your relatives say, mtu kazi yake ni kuchora. He's not a smart guy. Anachora tu. This guy has been relegated. And then you get into a class. I don't know about your school, but me, I went to a primary school, public primary school.
Yes.
The choppy guys were seated in the front.
Yeah,
the guys who konyuma. So any visitor would come into the class and say, that's the dumbest guy in class. Or from row C all the back, those guys are not sharp.
Yeah.
But these guys were very talented. Now, because these guys experienced some form of stigma, they got it's very sad, by the way.
Yeah.
There are some skills called executive function skills.
Yes.
They're about arguably 10 skills.
Yes.
Social-emotional regulation. Have you ever dealt with an artist, a creative person, when they're pissed off, business stops?
They go, yeah. They kasirika.
The guy has
Come and buy.
Come and buy.
Yeah.
The guy has a client.
Yeah.
That's social-emotional regulation.
Yes.
How to be organized. You're not taught those things like in an institution of higher learning. It's also something that has been relegated to the family context, but also school. So a lot of these people don't have executive function skills in the creative economy.
Yeah.
Now, because you want to teach them about money, then you have to introduce those executive function skills.
Okay.
So that they can understand holistically, once I even start making this dough, I need to have a plan.
Yes.
I have to create my SMART goals. They have to be measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. You have to educate these guys because the society relegated these individuals.
Yes.
So the biggest challenge you have right now is the psychological challenge is these individuals, they don't have these skills, and which is an impediment for them to be very successful or contribute overwhelmingly to an ecosystem that they are part of. So we've come to realize that not only do we empower them with this technology that they can access, we also empower them with soft skills. That my platform has something called learning management toolkit, that we're using something called human-centered design approach, which is like a HCD philosophy of doing business.
Yes.
So you go there, we even teach you on the platform, and we teach you on human-centered design approach. So when you're designing with empathy. You're not just designing for someone because I'm designing for you, Leonard.
Yeah.
I have to sit down with Leonard and understand the psychographics, the demographics. I have to look at your culture. There's a culture that runs Leonard as a person. And then I start building for you, as opposed to building something. And how also sometimes the West does is they bring in a lot of westernized technology, but they haven't done research on their target audience here.
True.
So we built it for Africans by Africans. But full disclosure, I want to be very honest with you. Because there was a certain skill that lacked, when we looked at the technology stack that we were building, there was a certain skill that lacked in the continent. We had to hire engineers from the Netherlands.
Really?
Yes.
And what skill was that?
Engineering back end for artificial intelligence and augmented reality. It's at the confluence of AI. We're looking at computer vision, which is a confluence of artificial intelligence and augmented reality.
Okay.
This stuff is new age.
Yes.
A lot of people within the continent don't have, even me, as someone who's worked extensively in the continent, I didn't have a team that could do this.
Yeah.
So we had to outsource this particular service to some engineers in the Netherlands. So, but then the IP framework had to be solid. Because you have some guys deving this thing, and these guys also looked at the design document and they said they wanted a piece of the pie. So we had to create the IP in such a way that there's BlackRhino VR as a holding company owns the IP, but then there's some funds that goes to these individuals because there's something that they have to update after some time. So they are paid regularly to update this particular component
Yes.
within the platform itself. But also, with time goes by, we're trying to understand how we can be able to build capacity for this and then start winning them off.
I would argue that you are building capacity, right?
I am.
Just by virtue of going into a space that is non-existent.
Yeah.
You are building capacity. And the journey now continues. A
Yes.
job that someone did not know. I'm sure there are some young guys somewhere now reading on and going through that code and understanding where those linkages are.
Yeah. Especially my guys. Some of my guys had never traveled. Imagine you're taking a young guy, a talented dev, you're putting this guy in a plane, flying this guy to the Netherlands.
To now work with
those guys.
Yeah.
So there's also that sort of cultural and technology exchange.
Yes.
Because when my guy talks, they're like, how does this African know this? And there are no schools for XR in Africa.
Yes.
We didn't graduate. There's no schools we went to learn AR and VR.
Yes.
We taught ourselves.
Sasa, let's now move back. I think we now have a good understanding of your business and what it is. Yeah. We'll come back to that later on in the podcast. But let's now backtrack. And you're doing many things. And those things are first unique in the context of the continent.
Yeah.
They're innovative in the context of the continent. But that means that you're ahead of the policy.
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're ahead of the education system. So then, how do you then connect those dots? One, with the policy, you have you walked us through your journey with IP. Yeah. But you're Kenyan-based. You're a Kenyan-based company. If the IP from a policy and hence legal perspective is not where you are, or even, I dare say, where you're going, then how do you exist in that environment? And how do you protect yourself and grow and develop in a space like that?
Very interesting question. Actually, this has been the bane of my existence in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Because trying to find out how we can be able to have policy that can support organically the growth of our industry, but then policy that doesn't also stifle that growth.
Yes.
Policy that supports that growth has been a headache, to say the least. So we decided to spread our risk and diversify our portfolio.
Okay.
There is some component of our IP that we want to export.
Yes.
And the reason why we want to export the component of our IP is, number one, we can value it more from abroad. And number two, the policies that exist abroad also support that. We've had numerous conversations with Gava. Sat down with them and said, guys, we're building this thing. How can we be able to have an inclusive approach to our business where we also show the government what we are trying to work on? One of the few guys, by the way, whoever understood what we are doing was the former CS Joe Musheru. Joe would call me. Tell me, Brian, where are you? Like on a Sunday, bro, I remember. He called me on a Sunday. Where are you, Brian? I said, I'm in my house, Joe. He says, come to your office. I'm waiting for you in the parking lot. And I go there and I sit down with this guy. And he tells me, today I want to understand your business model because I'm working on something. The first time that guy met us, he never forgot about us. Either his PA would call us about a project that they wanted us to pitch, or one of his guys would just call and say, hey, guys, we are working on this thing. Even though we only did one project together, this guy understood and he wanted to help us grow. And looking at the people that we, in the sort of spaces that we are, unfortunately, we are not seeing representation.
You know, Brian, you've touched on what for me is a rather big topic and a frustrating one.
Yeah.
At that. Because one of the things that I see, one of my frustrations, I think even when I look at the appointment of CSs and PSs in a Kenyan context, it is a big area of frustration for me in my space. My professional space, which is hospitality, tourism, retail.
Yeah.
Because, and the frustration comes from, it's very difficult. We started this conversation, and this is just a podcast, But in order for us to have an informed conversation, you had to bring me to some level to where I understand what it is you do. But because it's a podcast, I don't need to understand it in depth. You're not teaching me to become a trader in VR and AR into the future. We're just understanding it for this 1 hour session that we're together. However, when you talk about who holds these offices, I think we take for granted the magnitude of importance that is required for people to engage with a sector. Musheru is an IT guy. So no surprise that when he met you, he connected. I mean, his background, if you know Musheru, he was in Google,
he gets it.
So when he gets what you're saying, but when you start with a guy who doesn't get, and sad to say, I've seen some memes doing the round, about who is ICT CS and all that, Rwanda versus Kenya. And I think that's the conversation.
Yes.
No bashing someone, but I think this is a worthy conversation. In this country that has this depth of talent, why are we fighting with it? I mean, but that's a lamentation for me, because I see it in tourism. If we're going to start a conversation around tourism, around where I'm teaching you basic terms, because you're totally new to the industry. Chief, who we both know, he says he captured it very well. He said that the challenge we have is we always start from zero. And when you're always starting from zero, it's a problem.
It is.
If one CS can't come out and get from 0 to 1, and then the next CS starts from 1 to 4, and then the next one starts from 4 to 10, we seem to start with every reappointment cycle or election cycle. We start from zero. And that's very frustrating.
Bro, just to add on what you're talking about, the government doesn't have institutional memory. It lacks institutional memory. So how do you even create a strategy for a nation when first all the dockets that majority of these huge dockets that these guys are getting, they're not subject matter experts. These are political appointments.
Yes.
It's not that this guy on merit, he deserves to be there because he understands the nuances of this particular vertical. They don't know those nuances of the vertical. So what happens is you're going to speak tech to an individual who doesn't have this background, to an individual who also the people around him don't even understand it.
Yes.
And my biggest challenge is not them.
Yes.
I mean, they've decided that they are going to be dealers and not leaders, which is fine. It's clear that they've decided that. My issue is us as individuals. We don't want to take up these positions. How do you expect a pencil pusher in parliament, in the Senate, to talk about the plight of a creative technologist? How? These guys are there to make money.
Yeah.
They're entrepreneurs. They're tenderpreneurs. So we in the creative industry or in our different verticals in the private sector, we don't want to look at it from a point of I want to be a cancer in the system. I want to bring my knowledge into the system. The only way to beat them is to be in that system.
Yes.
But we want to exclude ourselves from that. We want to say, you know what, bro, if policy doesn't support growth, it will stifle it, period.
Yes. It's interesting that when I think about your technology, and the reason why I brought in the whole policy discussion is I see it being very, very relevant on a national platform. For example, Kenya, tourism is a key component of what we do in terms of our economy. And tourism has a lot of trickle-down effect. But we also are living in a storytelling age, and where experiences have become a big thing. Can you imagine having someone in London or in Sri Lanka or in India or whatever new markets, or even on the African continent, scan a Kenyan experience, or scan something off the net and then immerse themselves in what's a good example? Kereta forest.
Yes.
And have a virtual zip-lining experience of Kereta, or somewhere in Shimoni Caves, or or the caves in Mount Elgon, or on Rusinga Island, And I see the application of that technology. Now you have, as you have so eloquently showed us today, you have cracked the tech. But if we don't have one realization that this tech is available, that's an option. We're going to spend our time being very old school, in terms, yet we're ready to do. You're a company in Kenya doing the things that you're doing. So what has your experience been with that? And do you have any engagement on a national level at the moment? Or are there any conversations going?
Bro. I mean, I feel like this is therapy. Thanks, Leonard. I needed this conversation, bro. My frustrations, my brother, have been based on this, and which is not ideal. And I'm putting myself out there.
Yes.
My frustrations have been based on this. A lot of accolades.
Yes.
A lot of opportunities we've had. Not just for representation, but opportunity to demonstrate what we're doing has been abroad. Bro,
Wow.
as we speak, I sit on a very prestigious board. It's an invite-only board. It's a Global Future Council of the future of the metaverse with the World Economic Forum. A board that I have served now for 2.5 years. And before that, I was in a Global Future Council of the Augmented Reality and Virtual Reality Board with the World Economic Forum. So
But you say,
let's start there.
Let's start there.
So I've been sitting on these boards now for 4 years.
Yes.
We're advising presidents. We're advising countries on adoption, on looking at literacy, looking at privacy for the metaverse, and AR and VR for the past 4 years. We won an award in Spain for best innovation globally in the creative industry, for the application of technology in the creative industry. This is one of the many awards that we've had. But I want to be honest with you. No Kenyan seated in a place, in a significant position where we can be able to have conversations around.
Knows you exist.
Knows that I exist. Me, I'm a Lunje from Busia, bro. Marketing is not in my blood.
Yeah.
I move in silence. You understand? My biggest challenge is that even the individuals who Google and they find this information.
Yes.
And we are presented with opportunities to speak to Gava. They always talk about how am I making money out of this? I've had several conversations with government.
Yes.
How are we making money out of this? I'm like, yes, we can make money out of this through A, B, and C. But the truth is, the way we've structured this thing, it's a holistic approach to creating value that can circulate in the economy. It's not based on certain economical mechanics of what is not socialism, capitalism.
Yeah.
It's not based on that. It's based on a philosophy of everyone has a piece of the pie and we are going to create value to circulate. So as a challenge, we haven't had some form of constructive conversations with government. Now, my only problem is that the guys who invite us in Europe, in Spain, in all these places, but they also have their own challenges.
Yes.
The nuances that exist there also on another level. Because number one, they want to siphon information that you know.
There's an agenda.
There's an agenda.
So
this guy is not flying me business class to Munich.
Nothing. Not for nothing.
I did nothing, bro. I'm being picked up the latest BMW, bro. In Munich, I'm going for this thing. They are siphoning information.
Of course. They're collecting data.
They're collecting data. So me there, I'm like, this data that has taken us 10 years to learn.
Yes.
I'm not going to give it just because you put me in a business class flight. I'm going to hold back this data. But who am I holding it back for? Because the guys I want to share it locally are not ready for this data.
They're not ready to hear it.
They're not ready to hear it, nor do they want to create a framework to support it.
Yes.
So now the challenge is the guys who are abroad, they're giving us all these accolades and all these opportunities to speak. Also, I want to talk about there's what you call a colonial approach to digital technology. And this colonial approach is the people who are coming to colonize you right now are not going to come with ships and guns. Bro, they're coming with contracts, they're coming with technology, and they're coming with money.
You know, it's good you've brought that thing up because I had a personal frustration in our business, Cakes and Cakes.
Yeah.
With Facebook. Yeah. So we're a cake company and we advertise on Facebook.
Yes.
And then something happened. Till today, we don't know what. Yeah. We don't know what happened, but we were locked out. You know how Facebook decides that you guy, I don't know, come back in 90 days if you want to advertise. Now we're like, Kwani, what have we done? So we're trying to get a guy to find out. Can we talk to a guy? You know, what can we do? Now here we are. We're a local business, yeah? And we can't advertise on that particular platform where a lot of our customers are.
Yes.
Because Instagram and Facebook is where we have our largest base of customers. But for 90 days, we can't advertise. We don't know why. And because it's an American, and that's when you begin to understand the power of context. And that's why at the beginning I was saying, I can see why you went to develop your own thing.
Yes.
Because we're not in the conversation of who owns these platforms. Yeah. Ways and I'm not, I don't want to sound like an anti-foreign platform guy. I'm not.
Yes.
But I'm very cognizant of the important of a seat at the table.
Yes.
And we are not taking our seat at the table
No.
because we are not supporting, the people. We're not supporting the our people who have the capacity to develop these things to get a seat at the table. And I hope conversations like this can hopefully play a small role in changing that kind of thinking.
Not just a small role. I think they will play a significant role.
Yeah.
Because things are evolving. And I see that there's opportunities for individuals like you to give people like us or a platform to speak about this. And as you see, when a lot of people are accessing this information, bro, it's important for us to think about the role we want to play in technology as Africans critically.
Okay.
In the scale, scope, and complexity, Africans need to critically think about our role.
Okay.
Number one, by virtue of evolution and revolution.
Yes.
Let me paint a small picture with you. Information back in the day, I'm talking about traditional, was being passed orally.
Yes.
But information was also being passed through music.
Yes.
It was being passed through drums,
Yes.
smoke,
Yes.
different things. And then we transitioned from that into written word. Right? We went to written word. After written word, we went to printed. Right? And now we're in digital.
Yes.
When you see something simple as that, this shows you that there's certain migration standards and evolution happening.
Yeah.
And now we're in what you call the fourth industrial revolution that will fundamentally change the way we relate to each other, the way we work,
yes,
the way we live. Like I said, in scope, complexity, and everything else in between. Now, because we understand that this is a matter of evolution and revolution, there's individuals who are looking at it from the role of Africans. Are we going to be consumers of this technology?
Only. Yes.
Or are we going to be manufacturers and producers of technology?
Yes.
Remember the guy who's coming to handcuff you or create mental shackles? This guy is going to come with AI. There's these large language models that are being built. Do you think Africans are also building these large language models? That AI, who's owning that? When you're having this conversation with ChatGPT, as much as you think it's giving you information.
It's taking also.
Bro, it's taking.
Yeah.
So that conversation you're having with this ChatGPT is not it's not same. It's asymmetrical. So Africans need to sit down and say, and I believe in the United States of Africa. I believe in us coming together and saying we are technologists. Bro, that's why I work extensively in the continent.
Yes.
I work with my brothers in SA, in Zim, in I don't know where. I go, I travel, and I see these guys, and I say, guys, first we have to start building together. And when we come as a block, even today, there's no fund that is designated towards an extended reality fund. Bro, I got some money and I said, you know what I'm going to do with this money? I'm going to create a lab. I have a lab and I'm launching it in a month's time. And that lab, I've had that lab for 3 years. Because a guy said, by there on a personal level, Biki Kangwana, very good friend of mine, he comes and he says, I'm training artists. I was doing a project with the Goethe Institute. And Biki sees the numerous and the composition of individuals coming to the mall. He pulls me on the side. He says, Brian, are these guys from your community? I said, yes. These are young kids who want to leverage creativity and technology. It's at the apex of everything that you're talking about. The confluence of change is here. And these young guys come. It's like 2,000 guys, 4,000 guys. I'm doing like an exhibition. I've trained artists and they've done an exhibition. About 4,000 guys come in 2 weeks. He's never seen this audience before. Biki Kangwana calls me after the exhibition is over. He says, I'm going to give you space at the mall. Continue doing your work. Bro, he gave me space at no cost. I'm telling you, the retail value of that space is maybe 300, 400 Gs.
A month.
Told me, keep on doing what you're doing. So me had this space. And now I've been putting Kidogo funds there. Boom, boom, boom. And now I went back to Biki and said, Biki, I'm making a bit of money. Just charge me kidogo rent. Sawa, let's grow like that. Biki's like, sawa. And now we are launching this officially. I've had that space for 3 years.
And the lab does what?
The lab does, the biggest challenge you have is access to technology, access to information, access to hardware and software. The young guys want to be part of this value chain, but they can't afford it.
Yes.
One of a rendering system costs you almost 1 million shillings just to render animation, to render specialized information because of the sheer metadata and point cloud information that you're holding.
Yes.
You require graphics processor units that are on steroids. So I built this place for guys to access it at no cost.
Okay.
So now I have a bunch of guys. I told them, guys, come. It's an XR lab. You come and access technology at no cost. We're doing master classes at no cost based on all our linkages throughout the world. And we're teaching guys how to build stuff. So you have young guys coming to build prototypes around AR. It's like, for lack of a better word, it's like an iHub from back in the day, but just specializing. And for me, I'm giving it back to the society at no cost, because the best innovators haven't been born yet, or the best innovators haven't had access to our technology. I'm not the best innovator. Our mission and vision is galvanized by the fact that we want to empower the future youth to be the XR innovator and inventor. So when you give this guy stuff and you help him build and you reduce that psychological barrier to entry, bro, these guys are building some very dope stuff, very cool things.
And of course, it will be local contextual.
It's local contextual. They're building for their people. They understand these nuances that exist in the market. But if you don't give them that opportunity, and me, I say, I'm going to be making money out of this lab, then how am I helping this ecosystem?
So you're playing the role of Gava.
Imagine.
Yeah. But anyway, that's... so I want us to delve a bit into the future. But before we get to the future, I just want to make an overarching comment about the past. You know, all this that we're discussing is possible because fiber optic cables landed.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot when I see what's happening in the technological space and how even you talk about evolution and revolution. If those cables don't land, if the cost of internet doesn't drop, yeah? And maybe we should just keep that collectively in the back of our minds because, you know, sometimes when you have good policy, yeah, and policy marries with good action, then you have 20, 40 years
you leapfrog,
of doing things that happen. But let's talk about the future. Let's assume, and I'm going to pose an interesting question to you. Let's assume capital is not a constraint. Yeah? Let's assume you can access whatever money you need. We won't even talk about access from where, but let's just assume whatever money you need and this vision that you have for BlackRhino VR and for the space and the sector.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do we see from you?
Okay, first if I can access that money, I'll need to go for some form of counseling because I know myself. I know myself. I can be like, payday.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's on a lighter note. But critically thinking about it, and also in line with our strategy, you have to decentralize information for individuals. Building platforms that allow open source platforms.
Yes.
That allow other individuals to build. You know what Chief said? People start from zero.
Yes.
We don't want to start from zero. There's an open source platform that allows you to start at 50%.
Yes.
There's a toolkit that exists. Now we're working on a cool project. Just to digress, then answer your question. We're documenting material. It's called, very interesting. Music instruments are known as material culture. And now the biggest challenge with material culture, when you look at back in the past, there's information that has been lost on this material culture. Let's say the Wandindis, the Orutus, how to play them. There are very few people in these communities that can do that.
Yes.
And there's no central repository of archiving all this stuff. So we are archiving all this stuff. We're doing like 3D renders of these instruments. And we are putting it in a platform that can allow anyone to access, see how these instruments were made. So we are documenting the past. We are seeing who's currently using these instruments. We are mapping, and you're also giving an opportunity for people to be able to access these models. But it's open source. and it has a toolkit. So a guy in Malawi who sees our project, it's called Echoes of the Ancestors. If a guy in Malawi wants to build the same, he just goes to this platform and he sees, boss, these guys even have a curriculum on how in Malawi he can do that. So you decentralize access to information. Information for many years has been held within people, some gatekeepers. But technology is also opening up access to this. So if you ask me where the future is, decentralization.
Okay.
Money is going to be decentralized. Information is going to be decentralized. Platforms are going to be open source, where even if you're looking at shared IP, the same way guys are making money from cryptocurrency and stuff, everyone has a piece of the cake.
Of the pie, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's a piece of the pie. So you just decentralize. And this is where I feel like a lot of change will come from.
So that's the hill you've chosen to die.
That's a hill, banner.
Yeah.
Decentralization.
Nice. So let's now come specifically to BlackRhino VR.
Yeah.
We have understood the business, and but where is it going? That business in the context of where our market is. When you think about, I think I am beginning to see, based on this conversation, application in my sector.
Yeah.
So what would you like to see out of the market?
I would like to see first, from a family context, individuals telling their parents, I'm a creative technologist.
Okay.
You know, their doctors are doctors.
Yes.
Architects are architects.
Yes.
I would be happy to see, and now I'm seeing that.
Yes.
If you go on LinkedIn, you see more creative technologies coming up. From a family context, I would love to see young people going to tell their folks, I'm a creative technologist and this is what I can be able to do.
Yeah.
From an ecosystem perspective, I'd like to see people, and we're empowering that generation of people to demonstrate use cases of the technology itself. What the way BlackRhino has been structured is we've removed the sort of powers, let's call them powers in this case, that BlackRhino should have, and relegated all this stuff to the ecosystem and the community where we're building together. I'm an enabler and not a disabler of technology.
Okay.
So I'm enabling a conducive environment for young people to grow from a social dimension, physical, financial dimension, etc. So BlackRhino is an enabler at the bottom pyramid.
And correspondingly, we'll thrive with them.
Yes.
When they thrive, you thrive.
When they thrive, I thrive. And I don't want to have 90% of something. I'd rather have 1% of something solid.
Huge, yeah.
Something huge.
Yeah.
So the ethos behind what we're doing right now is to really give back to these individuals and knowledge. Bro, we have a school where we're teaching guys. Now I'm training 50 artists and creative technologists on how to use this platform. I convinced a Switzerland company, and a Swiss company, and they said, you know what, Brian, we like that. But also when you're trying to convince them, you're trying to say this information also, we're building for Africa.
It's ours.
It's ours. So are you down for the plan? They say, in fact, because of that, we are down for the plan. So even out there are individuals and institutions that want Africa to thrive and grow. It's not that all these guys are bad guys. So I got a fund, and I'm training 50 guys now on AI, on AR, in the confluence of AI, and seeing what these guys will create. And bro, furthermore, we are paying to train them. So you're coming to be trained, but you're also being given a stipend.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The guys who study with you,
yes,
you give them something. Yeah.
Not just something, it's significant, bro.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we said, we're not going to train people. I get a guy who has a jobo who's going to Skype, or jobo who's going to do something. Moonlight. And then me, I take that, I have to respect his hours. And his hours are equal to a certain amount of money. So we did a calculation. And we're like, these guys, if they're going to spend a week with us, we're going to pay them X amount of money.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how's the outcome of that journey so far?
I put out a call I was looking for about 50 people. The call was in about 10 days. I got 73 applications. Strong applications.
And you're selecting 50 from
and
those?
I'm only selecting 50. But also, this validates what we are trying to do. Because there is need. If there was an undersubscription, I'd have thought, maybe there's no need for this. And if I extended it for another 2 weeks, I know I'd have gotten almost 200 people.
So tell us a bit more about where where can the guys find you? Not just the Kenyan guys, yeah, because you've talked about physical locations in Nairobi, the mall, but maybe you can just give us a walkthrough of where can we find you online. That you're wearing many hats, so just systematically tell us hat by hat.
Okay.
This training school that you're talking about, those that kids that hear or parents that hear and say, hey, this I see my son in what Brian is saying.
Yeah.
Where do we find you and where do we get this information that can help us walk this journey with you?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. First, I just want to say something. I haven't been the best in terms of marketing BlackRhino and myself.
Yes.
Simply because also biblically, I believe in building in silence. There is value in building in silence. But now I'm starting to talk about the work that we're doing.
Yes.
And we've been building in obscurity for almost 10 years now.
Yes.
But now I still need to talk about this information. If you go on my LinkedIn, there's some posts I make about how Africans need to not just react, but respond to this fourth industrial revolution. I put out some information there. If you Google BlackRhino VR, we are very active on Instagram. BlackRhino is also a convergence of information of other opportunities that exist. So if they follow BlackRhino VR, they see opportunities from other organizations.
And we can find BlackRhino on Insta?
On Instagram.
TikTok?
No, we are not on TikTok. We should be on TikTok, by the way.
Yeah.
We are on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. You can still say our target audience. I really feel that we need to be on TikTok.
Yes.
But also I have my challenges with some of these platforms because of information. It's a long story short.
Yes.
But yes. And also we do a lot of trainings, physical trainings. So if you go to our Instagram, for instance, you see our open calls, you see what we are training. You come to the lab, we're located at the mall on the basement. So you come to the mall, it's actually a very nice environment because you have other companies and organizations.
To come and see, man.
But you gotta come. So we're at the mall for now. To be honest with you, I don't even mind people having my number. When you go to the BlackRhino website, it's my personal number on the website. Bro, I get weird calls, man. I get calls from parents.
Yes.
From kiddos.
Yes.
I started a boot camp for young people. My wife is a teacher. So I started doing a pilot in her school. And my wife came back and told me, babe, I think this thing is working. How do you scale this thing in primary schools? So now we are trying to talk to schools. For instance, now we had a conversation with the Multimedia University.
Yes.
One of our courses is we kind of want it to be a curriculum in school.
Yes.
Because you've already developed a robust course. And also for primary schools, we are trying to talk to small schools now for private schools because it's easier to work with the private schools to see if we can be able to get in there. But now, if we can have conversations with KICD and for them to see the value of what we are trying to do. Bro, the platform even teaches teachers on how to build AR and augment learning in their classrooms.
Open source.
Open source. This is a secret. So I'm going to improve in terms of our PR.
Yes.
We are really...
This is a start.
This is a start.
And we are privileged that...
And I thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got my mind racing in terms of what it is you're onto. And specifically now, if I could selfishly just think about it from my perspective, I think what is possible with what you do and what I do, which is about creating experiences, either dining experiences or tourism experiences. Because you have to feel something before you come. Yeah. And how do you get people to feel something before they physically come to experience? If yours would be a great channel to do so, I think you're a lot more impactful than just a standard advert. If I can come and experience the food and how it's created, or the location and what happens there, or the hotel room, the sky is actually the limit in terms of what is possible.
I want to invite you over. Like, you know what?
I'll come.
Just come to the lab.
Yes.
Play around with stuff. You know what? I have my business card. After this, I'll show you just my business card. Simple.
Yes.
You scan it.
Yes.
And there's amazing augmentation that happens. I mean, my business card, I get data on my business card. It's amazing how much when I look at the back end of my card, there's places that I haven't been that my card has been. There's places where I see, I'm like, since when did I go to Costa Rica? It's someone who's gone there with a card and is like, yo, you gotta see this. Even in the West.
Yes.
Let me give you a small joke.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends laugh at me. They say, my guy, you're such a Pan-African guy. You're such a Pan-African guy, but you married a white chick. I'm like, yes, I imported goods. I'm sorry. But also I'm not sorry.
Yes.
Because what I've been able to do, I've been able to take advantage of my relationship with my in-laws in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And if a lot of people don't know about the Netherlands, these guys are about maybe 15 million people. A lot of innovations we see in the world are based there.
True.
And these guys, when it comes to doing biash, they are straight shooters. When I'm having a conversation with the engineers there about IP, it's neither here nor there. I'm like, guys, this is my IP. We're not going to have a problem with this. It's BlackRhino's IP. It's clear.
And it's clear to them.
It's clear.
You're not fighting.
We are not fighting. There's no nuances based on that. We have to. No. It's this guy's IP. Even though they've helped us build something, it's this guy's IP. So I take advantage of testing our technology in the West. And God as my witness, a lot of people that I've met in the West have gone through our technology. It's the first for them, and they live in the West.
Wow.
It's the first for them. African technology to the world.
Excellent.
And it's the first for them as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Afande, BlackRhino VR, as he has said, they are on Twitter, they are on LinkedIn, they are on Instagram. I'm going to follow them immediately after this because there's so much more and I'm going to that lab to see what they're doing. But what a fabulous, fabulous story. When I set out to start the podcast, I think I've had 9 guests before Brian, but you capture the essence of what I'm trying to showcase the depth of talent we have, and to overarchingly communicate that we are enough as we are. Enough. And we can learn anything that we have gaps in, and we can grow and develop. So I'll give you a chance to, in your newfound marketing, to pitch your pitch to the masses so that they can take it from there.
Leonard, thank you so much first for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
I mean, you're doing the Lord's work.
Asante sana.
And you're doing Gava's work also.
Asante sana.
So this is a double-edged sword, and where I can be able to support in my own unique ways, I will support.
Asante.
For anyone seated out there, I just want to tell you that don't look at the circumstances of where you are right now, because for those of you who know my family know that we've gone through a lot of stuff to be here, losing our folks when we were 16 years old. Leonard, you don't know I survived a terrorist attack.
I didn't know.
Almost at Westgate. I was stuck there for 6 hours. And they say in the Bible that God uses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. By the way, you don't have to subscribe to anyone out there. God qualifies the disqualified in the society. No matter how you look, no matter what. If you see me talking to Leonard Mudachi here, I'm a guy who's walked on slippers. There's nothing I've never done. One of the gifts that we have, and I believe, is a gift of creativity. Coupled with technology, it's a potent force. And it's for you to take and understand. There are no schools for this. Teach yourself how to do this stuff. And you can be able to achieve this. And there's a community of practitioners, a community of practice that is there doing this. Come to the mall, ground floor, go on the website, you'll see my phone number there. Hit me up. Let's just make magic. Because Africa really is the next frontier.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us to the end of episode 10, and what an episode it has been. You can follow us on YouTube, African Do, and Spotify. And look forward to episode 11 and many other episodes where we can find the likes of Brian and many others that I know are out there. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to having you at the next episode.